Welcome in, welcome in. I'm so excited to be here with you. Now, my name is Kevin, and I'm one of the speaker advocate coaches. We call ourselves the SAC Coach on the Lisa Nichols campus. Now, there's about 23 of us on here. And so, for those of you who already went through Ignite, or you're about to go through the next cohort of Ignite that's going to start on April 3rd, you kind of already know that what we're going to do is we're going to actually coach you. That's what we're here for. So what I want to do first is do a quick recap of what Lisa already taught yesterday. So we're going to put up a slide so you can actually look at what we were doing for the homework. But what Lisa taught was something we don't usually teach, but what I love is that we're sharing it here. So we can get that slide up of the 7 components or the presentation structure components. This is everything. And what I love about this, it can be used in corporate. I use it sometimes when I'm actually doing a virtual call. You can do it on stage. But you could also do it in a huddle meeting, literally standing in your office or in my place, in a pharmacy. You could do it in a boardroom. It's just how you do it. It can be very subtle or very, very like grandiose if it is on stage. It's your choice, but it's very powerful. But what it is this. There is a structure that where you can actually connect with the audience with an actual opening. Then you're going to bridge into what you're going to talk about. I like to call this a little foreshadowing of what is to come. Then you talk about the story. And then from your story, you're going to actually bridge out of that story, which kind of shifts the energy from that low point coming up. Now you can talk about what are your contents. Most of us tend to teach in points of 3s. And then give an inspiration, because we want to now take what we've taught and really get people fired up about it so they get excited about it. And then you want to close them. Most times we tend to close them in their heart. That's what we talked about yesterday. So what I want to go ahead and do is just look at how we do. In fact, what I'm going to do right now, this is what we do in Ignite. Lisa teaches the content as a SAC coaches or speaker advocate coach. Our job is show you how to implement it and then nail it. So why don't we go ahead and go right first to, I saw a cool video from Mary Young, and I want to actually play that video right now. And here's what I want you to do. As we're queuing up the video, you can queue it up and just actually post it. I want you to listen for the story. What I loved about this story is how specific her big U was. So look at how big it was. And then she foreshadowed a specific moment in time. It wasn't all over the place. She lasered in on a certain night. And I'm going to ask you to type in chat if you can figure out what night she said. And then you can see what was happening in that night. And then she transitioned out of the story. So we teach that a lot in Ignite. And this right here sometimes can be a struggle. But what I love what Mary did, she really went in. She stayed inside the valley part to really let you see the component and then came out. So let's play this video so you can see.
I was 38 years old. By all indicators, I was successful. I was the first person in my family to go to college, even though I was the youngest. I had completed 2 terms in the military. I had a good-paying job doing something I loved, and I made more money than anybody else in my family did. But if all of that was true, why was I curled up in a fetal position on the bottom of the bathtub, crying my eyes out while my hot shower turned cold? Have you ever had one of those nights where you just knew nothing was ever going to come right again? And everything was just going to be all messed up for the rest of your life? One of those nights they call the dark night of the soul, where you just know that no matter how it looks on the outside to the rest of the world, on the inside you're really a failure. And you're really just pretending to be the success that everybody thinks you are? If you have, you are not alone. I've been there. I cried in that shower until my muscles cramped up. My hands looked like that. I cried for so long the cold water had time to get hot again. And I kept crying until it was cold again. And when I got out of that shower and went to bed, I cried myself to sleep. It was New Year's Eve, and I was 38 years old. And that's the night everything changed. That was the night I decided I was not taking my past into my future with me. That was the night I decided I needed to change.
Did you see that? So in her big U, it was so powerful. She literally talked about, at 30 years old, it was what everybody else deemed as successful. And that little foreshadowing let you know something else was coming. But she's talking about 2 years in the military. She made the salary, more money than everybody else in her family, so to speak, doing something that she loved. That was powerful. But she said, if that was so true, then why was I curled up? Just took us right down into the fetal position. Did you see her in the shower? In fact, what night was it? New Year's. Sitting there, 38 years old. Yeah, she was at New Year's Eve. And so she was there. And this is what got me. How are you in the shower so long that it goes from hot to cold, then cold to hot? So what I loved about what she did, she took us to a moment. She did not run from that moment. And she stayed so we could actually feel the pain of, if they're thinking this is success and I'm not, am I pretending? What's happening here? Why is there a dichotomy and it's not coming together? Could you see the pain? I wanted you to see this story so you can see how to put this together, because actually this is that one component. She did one component, which is the actual story, but it was so hot. It was so great. Thank you, Mary. We love that. And at the very end, even the iteration of, I just love how she made a decision, turning point. That was the night I decided that I'm not taking this in my future. And then iteration, that was the night that I decided that. We'll teach you this at night, but so she kept doing that mental highlighter of saying, I needed to make a change and it was up to me. So, Mary, here's a feedback. If you were doing maybe an opening, maybe you could actually thank whoever's listening. So, thank you so much for having me here. You guys look phenomenal, and I really am humbled to be here. And literally go right into a bridge. Sometimes what others may call success that they say that they see in you, as they look at your life, it may not always be the same thing that you see as success. And then you can go right into the story. So it's just a transition from one part to the next. Love, love, love that. Now, I want to invite you, if you haven't already considered coming to Ignite, these are the things that we do. The way I'm giving feedback like this, we do it a lot more there. And if it resonates with you, and if you're actually looking for just a place to come, you can get a lot of this from coaches where, again, there's 23 of us. We love to help you develop your story and truly be able to take something, an incident, and make it come to life. And now, as you can see, we're putting that within these components so you can actually have a keynote. That is beautiful. So next up, what I want to see is Austin Jacob. Now, Austin actually we actually had a homework sheet and he actually filled out all the pieces of the sheet. So I really love that. And if you look at it, I told Austin, if you go look at his feedback, I put mine out there as well on the page. It can stand alone as it is. He actually had an opening. And if you look at that opening, you got to kind of look at it closely, but it thanks the audience. So he's literally connecting with his audience and saying, thanks for having me here, basically. Like, Austin, let me put my glasses on because it's a little light for me. All right. Now, but look at the bridge. Now, in his bridge and this is what I've noticed with everybody. So bridges are kind of new for us. And this is something we get to work at. But what it does is a transition statement that goes from one area. And this is where you can make your story their story. Now, what Austin put, which I thought still was genius, was I'm willing to bet every person in here has either knows of somebody or they're familiar with, or perhaps they're navigating the complexities of mental health. That kind of brings a lot of people in. He'd have to say it slow so people can really and go, okay, yeah. What I did for his bridge, it was just a consideration. But here's how I did it. I want you to see the entire thing he has. I looked at his inspiration towards the end, part of his valley, and where was he really trying to take us? And I looked at that and I did opposite, so that on one hand, you can see the positive part, but this bridge going in could be a little bit negative. Not negative, but it's kind of foreshadowing into the story that's going to go into the valley. So his bridge could be, sometimes life tends to make us think or forget that we are not the things that we do, nor are we're not the things that other people say. You see that? So now you can already tell something's coming up in that story where that happened in his life, because on the other side, he talks about how we're not that. So you actually can literally bridge out the same way. Sometimes you have to remind yourself that other people's opinions of you, they're none of your business. Now, if you joined us last week or you have the replay, you can actually see that was something that Lisa brought up. It was really a phenomenal thing. And I wanted to bring that here so you can see, what does a bridge look like? And how do you go into a story with a little foreshadowing? But then how do you transition and come out? Now, Maya, I want to bring up one. This is for people in corporate. Sometimes, whether you're on a virtual, like I do this sometimes, it could be in a boardroom, it could be in a team meeting, it could be on a stage. You got to understand these 7 components can be used everywhere. So I just did this the other week. And if you could show mine, Maya, I want them to see what it looks like. And this also is sitting on Facebook. We have a section that says Ask Kevin Questions. It's under that section. I think Susan asked that question. So you can see this out there on the Facebook page. But I wanted this to sit if you wanted to actually consider how would I move people when they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, and they don't even know how to pull out anything else. And I knew I needed to tell a certain story so I can connect to their hearts, show them where I was stressed, and then move the audience. So look at what I did here. I thank them for joining the virtual call because this is a sensitive topic. You got to understand when pharmacists walk in and the queues are out of control, phones are ringing, scripts are half the time wrong, so you got to call back and get them fixed. It could be a nightmare. And then you want to do something extra, we'll tend to put something extra to the side, don't do it. But here it will have negative ramifications and can even end up in penalties, fines if we don't do it. But when people are stressed, the human does what? It can't perform. So it just, I'm not doing that. So I had to walk into this situation and figure out how do I take them from not doing the action to doing the action. So here's my opening. Thanks for coming. And I love the fact as pharmacists, we're dedicated. You guys work really, really hard at what you do. That's my opening. Here's what I have bridged in. And sometimes, though we have a big goal, we can feel overwhelmed and sometimes just unsure how we're going to get this done. Notice I'm kind of going down with the energy. So I told my story. I literally walked in the other day, Saturday morning. My cues were so out of control. My heart was beating fast. And I was thinking, negative critic going on in my head. How am I going to get this done? I don't know how to do it. This is too much. That's that same negative critic. And as I kind of expounded on that, they could feel and see how it happened. And for hours, I struggled and struggled. And I said, wait, hold on. Wait, I teach this for God's sake. So I actually had to pause and say, what's happening here? And I began to touch and recognize, oh, there was an emotion. So I acknowledged the emotion, let it have space, took a very deep breath, which cleared my mind. And then I began to say, so what's my next right move? Because this is not going anywhere. What are you going to do? And the only thing I know how to do in the face of this thing going off is take an action. And I told myself, I am in control. I may have stress, but you don't run this, I run this. And just taking that action, I began to say, is this what courage feels like? I'm stressed out and I still have to do something anyway. See what I'm doing here? So in the story, which is real true, this is not just a story, this is real life. I did this, but I recognized that point was for them as much as it was for me. And so as I bridged out, sometimes though we may feel stressed, taking an action in the face of the stress reminds us that we have control over this. And this is how courage feels. Can you see what I'm doing here? So I'm matching them to the stress and the pain, tell them this is normal, so to speak, and we still get to take an action. So what was so powerful about it, the content was I acknowledged where people are. I told them how I grounded myself with a deep breath. And then with empathy, strategize on completion. And I was supposed to only do 4. And this little thing we're supposed to do, it should be 4 a day. Do you know on the first day I hit 23, but the second day I did 26. So I just want you to see the story shifted and the testimonial. They were like, what the? Exactly. And so it went from inaction to now everybody's actually working. So here's the inspiration. Although I'm going to be honest, guys, you're going to face some insurmountable odds, but you've got this. I believe in you. And then to close, when you find yourself wanting to quit like I did, take a step anyway. Just do it. Deep breath, center, remind yourself who's in charge. You are. Let's go get it. All of a sudden, it just went from nothing to everybody's running. So don't sleep on this. All of this actually works. Does it make sense? All right. So what I love is this. Everything we're doing is actually actionable for you. And right now, if we have any questions, I would love to just take any questions we have so I can make sure I'm with you. Do we have any questions that came up? And what? Uh-oh, let me see. I'm trying to see if I can read all of these. Ah, this helps. Thank you for sharing the valley. Love this. You absolutely want to see the replay from this. Okay. Okay, cool. I don't see any particular questions, but I will say this. One of the things everybody needs to work on is the bridge of learning how to bridge in and bridge out. So that's why I gave that example so you can see this. But what you're doing is powerful. So keep working on it. Keep working at it. Maybe we can actually look at is it Lolita? I want to see hers. There we go. All right. So look at Lolita's. There was a time when I was uncertain. So she did her valley here, but on her bridge out, that's actually still part of the valley. So on hers, but what I loved is this, she still did all the steps. She did something under the valley. She did something under the bridge out. She put something under content, under inspiration, under clothes. So great job on this one. Well, Lolita, what I want to do is give you a little feedback as well, because I think this will actually go a long way and help you. What I liked is your content, the explore your why, help care. I wasn't sure what that middle point was, but I'm sure you can explain what that is. That was really, really good. But your current bridge out is actually still a part of the little story. So what we could do on that bridging out is, and that bridge out is sometimes you have to be willing to dig deep and find your why, no matter what, in order to have the things that you want. So the story is she didn't have enough money to actually go on this high school trip, and she wasn't sure how she was going to get there. So she worked jobs, she did all kinds of things to make it work. So as I looked at her content and I looked at what her mother told her, that's how it told me what the bridge could be. Sometimes you or sometimes we. When you do that, either you or we, you make the audience feel like either you're talking to them when you say you're the expert. Sometimes I do use we so they can see we're in this thing together, but it moves the audience from where you are to where you want to be. And then your inspiration. My mother told me growing up, you could do anything you put your mind to. That's phenomenal. On the close, you can say this. Remember, you can do anything you put your mind to, or we could go a little bit deeper and say it with a few different words. So in closing, when it gets tough in life, sometimes when it could be a little challenging and we're not quite sure, what are we going to do? My name is Olita, and I want to remind you that though the tough may be sometimes hard to actually move forward, when we really actually commit to it and dig in deep and find our why, we have exactly what we need. So it's just restating mom's inspiration and landing that in the charge. Does it look good? You guys like that? So what I love about all of this is we're actually doing this already in Ignite. And I just want you to recognize this is something that we do. So for those of you who actually register for the Ignite program, we actually have an opportunity to visit this system and continue to develop the structure and really work on that story and some of those emotions that you saw what Mary Young did. So we actually stay down in that valley, allow them to feel where we are, allow them to see where we are, and also see the struggle and then how we did the transition from the struggle. Very important to stay in there because they can relate to you there and recognize, oh my God, if you can do it, Mary, I can do it too. So if you haven't registered yet, I'd like to invite you again to give yourself that methodology, this blueprint, because this is a community where you can actually find your certainty. I did it here, gain your certainty, like in this very, very program. And then you can increase not just your impact, but you can actually increase your income. So if you want to build your brand as an influencer, public podcaster, or again, like I said, in corporate, just moving people or even on stage, what I want you to do is this. Think about what are the essentials to actually build your brand. So what Lisa's going to do next week, she's going to cover all these things and basically kind of bring you behind the black curtain in the message that is coming up. And what she's going to do is show you how to take visibility and use that to expand your brand. Doesn't that sound good? And you can expand your brand even in corporate. What I love how to do with this is showing people how to position for promotion, position themselves in leadership, or even be in a position you are, like where I am, because I just do this part-time at the pharmacy. But then how do you run Like literally, it's amazing that the influence and the impact when you know that structure, you can be here, but from your personal power, not your formal power, truly change and create impact that changes and shifts the trajectory. So that visibility Lisa talks about, it's going to really show and just put you more on the map. You want to see that. And you want someone to give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. So make sure you're with us next Tuesday for Mic Drop March, where Lisa's going to share with you the speaker essentials, those must-have of being an impactful speaker. You want to mark your calendars, turn on those reminders so you don't miss it. Same time, same place, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then make sure you also join the coach, because we are on Wednesday. We're going to do this for the 20-minute segment, just like this one, to show you how to take what Lisa said and implement it so that it actually becomes yours. Isn't that great? So can't wait to see you there. And I love what we have. So this is really, really good. I'm looking at this. The bridge is a small connection between two thoughts. Exactly. I missed yesterday. There's a replay. Yep, there's a replay. You can actually see that there. So thank you guys for joining us. We had a really great time, and we'll see you the next time.